It was quite a pulse that disco genre instilled in the history of music, and when you went back to the hallmark moments of that era, you will find this scene. It is quite one of the defining cinematic moments of the 1970s. You may guess it's because of the peacocking walk of the suited-up Travolta or the restless sidewalks of Brooklyn in the background that made the scene phenomenal. But no, it's the soundtrack. Shortly after the release of the trailer, radios got slammed with requests to hear the song more often. And later, Stayin' Alive reigned the Billboard charts for 4 consecutive weeks. It has become the national anthem of nightclubs for decades, a song with a lion's share in musical history, not only for the great records but also for its longevity. Till this day, Stayin' Alive is still being featured and sampled in and out of the entertainment industry.
Our problem, the final problem. Stayin' Alive!
And it just keeps going on and on. The Night Fever is widely accredited for setting the Bee Gees as the kings of their musical era. And as to our souls and memories, Stayin' Alive inhabited a delightful place. But why Stayin' Alive in particular had a power so great to rechannel and perhaps represent a whole genre in music? And how did it work its way to stick in our heads and souls? Well, for one thing, its anatomy. Stayin' Alive offers more than one reason to prove its virtuosity. Written by the Gibb brothers in the key of F minor, which gives a latitude to the song's charm, which is double-fold. There is Barry Gibb and Alan Kindle with the significant guitar riff, that pulsating beat which sets up the theme. Maurice Gibb playing a bass line similar to the guitar riff. Then Blue Weaver adding synthesizers. And along with Albie Luton, the Bee Gees spent a good deal of time navigating for a snare drum. The result was taking 2 bars from the Night Fever and putting it on a loop. Then there is the vocals sung in Barry Gibb's sharp screeching falsetto. Well, you can't tell by the way I use my walk, I'm a woman's man, no time to talk. And that falsetto was quintessential to the song's success, and for Barry singing in that upper register, it served a divine role for enthroning the Bee Gees on top of the disco chain. And to step a bit backward to the source of the identical Motown beat often used in disco, the hermano de banjo is the man, the African musician with the song Sol Makossa, the one I used in the opening. It made him the founding father of the genre. That's probably why he is one of the reasons why discomania was hugely dominated by African Americans, and more specifically by women, singing in the mezzo-soprano range, which is quite a high vocal register. That when Barry sang in his own falsetto, which is an even higher vocal range, it made it quite hard for first-time listeners to genderize the vocals. And that which offered the Bee Gees a smooth slide into the bandwagon. But after the Bee Gees got in, the disco bandwagon has changed its course. And whether Barry's screeching voice was an innate tip or a sopranistic to overrun the genre, that's a bit hard to distinguish. But as the band puts it, they were concocting a mere triadic self-expression that reflects their solid tragedies and volatile victories. And theoretically, disco wasn't the right medium for the subject matter of survival and alienation, and Stayin' Alive distinctive lyrics suggested pathos that the genre didn't allow. Instead, it talked about trauma and struggle in the genre when they were supposed to stick with the theme of intimacy and partying. That's where the audacity of the lyrics proved the practicality of the song's success, a stark paragon of how to do a disco song adjacent to what's happening outside the club. Verily a pas de deux between lamentation and vitality. You have wailing evened up with a chest-beating flex, so there is a duality at work, a perfect balanced poem living up to its title and down to the essence of life itself. And before Stayin' Alive, disco songs was nothing like that. they came out like this.
Satisfaction came in a chain reaction. You hear? I couldn't get enough, so I had to self-destruct.
Noticed how the lyric subject matter was going back and forth between intimacy and partying, but the Bee Gees strayed a bit from the mainstream and derived from the realistic, in an era where the city was at critical times. A lyrical painting that depicts survival of the minority in the city where opportunity is often at the expense of identity transformers, and since the Gibb brothers themselves were outsiders, trying to navigate their creative path in America's biggest urban setting. What's a better way to translate that critical navigation than to put it into verses? And the success of that mission went both ways, getting the word a song that portrays the eternal struggle of the human condition that undoubtedly struck a chord in everyone's soul, and establishing a more personal approach to the genre that other disco singers followed along. That afterwards Gloria Gaynor audaciously came out with the 1978 hit I Will Survive, also with lyrics rich in persistence. I guess everyone knows that it's more about feel than accuracy in drum tracks, but Stayin' Alive is a song that executed both. Namely, the tempo of the song is at 103 BPM, which is exactly the beat per minute of our hearts when we are excited or walking. And this very close-up on Travolta's swaggering feet is no coincidence. It is partly a character trait and a visionary demonstration meant to seed the song into your consciousness. That when you happen to listen to the song while walking, you feel that beat synchronizing with the pace of your steps, and your heartbeats fits perfectly into the equation. And that's one of the reasons that in most of the movies that has Stayin' Alive in it, they always underscore the song on a walking scene. And that perfect tempo got the attention of some scientists at the British Heart Foundation too, that they put a wacky campaign video featuring Vinnie Jones on a hands-only CPR demonstration, using Stayin' Alive as a resurrection device. Just watch.
Push down, right on the sovereign. Push down 5 or 6 centimetres. That's about 2 inches in old money. Push hard and fast, about 2 times a second, like to the beat of Stayin' Alive. Worried you'll hurt him? Better a cracked rib than him kicking the bucket.
Funny, isn't it? And yeah, Stayin' Alive did actually keep some people alive. There is an article in the NYT that chronicles a daughter who performed a righteous compression on her suffocated father while just thinking about the song's rhythm, and similar other cases that I linked down below. In a great art form, I would say, is a mere suffering but beautifully expressed. And as an avid music listener, I'm always looking for the artist's sincerity of expression. It is what revitalizes any creation with its beauty, and it is what gives us a transcending vehicle with which we visit where we want to go emotionally. Discomania may have become a thing of the past, but Stayin' Alive is always a good place to start from if you ever wanted to look back and forward on what it takes to achieve a great song.